We'll be seeing you on that foreign show. We'll be seeing you. We'll be seeing you every Friday here at TFS. That foreign show. We'll be seeing you on that foreign show. We'll be seeing you. We'll be seeing you every Friday here at TFS. That foreign show. We'll be seeing you on that foreign show. We'll be seeing you. We'll be seeing you every Friday here at TFS. That foreign show. We'll be seeing you.
Entrando por tus oídos hasta llegar al centro de tus emociones, ADR Networks está en este momento
activando tus sentidos.
That foreign show.
ADR Networks presenta.
This is Celestine Angel.
And I'm Isaac Crouch.
And this is...
Foreign Show!
On that foreign show.
Muted. Mike is unmuted. Yeah! Welcome to the show. That foreign show. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages, races. It is a very special episode of That Foreign Show.
Alright, balloons everywhere. Okay, the reason for this,
It's raining balloons.
the reason for this
Let's start on.
is because
It
we're
is.
celebrating a year old. We just passed our anniversary, and we are throwing balloons for that reason. So my name is Celestine Angel,
I'm Isaac Rakesh.
and we're here on ADR Networks. Activate
Your senses. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is our anniversary show.
Yes,
1
I
year.
mean, actually, it would have been a couple of weeks ago, but we just passed the last date for on the Friday, and today we are celebrating.
Yep.
Thank you
And,
so much
thank you so
for
much.
supporting us throughout this time. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we got
Let
this.
me get the other one.
I got this light thing, you know. We were
More
trying to put
matching
it up,
for my
but then
clothes.
I don't know. So I decided to just wear it. And the good thing about this is we got colors, so it can change the mood as the interview goes, right? All right. So for today's show on That Insider, we are highlighting.
We are on that insider. No, we are just going to show you the year in that foreign show.
Yes.
So we are going to talk about what happened this whole year. Well, just give me
Essentially,
a second.
we are highlighting
I'm going
ourselves.
to adjust
We are
something.
highlighting ourselves, right, for this 1 year special episode, and we're gonna get the our Instagram page to go up, right? And the Instagram page is the Illuminary page, right? The IU Illuminary page, and that Illuminary is a project that we are doing. All right. What we're trying to do here is trying to get our camera in focus, man.
Sorry, I walked away and then the camera.
Yeah, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna disconnect the camera one time and come back in. All right, so don't go anywhere. All right, we're back. And it's still out of focus. Okay, I'm gonna try that again. Okay, that's perfect. That's perfect. How's everybody doing?
So, okay, we want to talk about how this whole year has been. It has been, for us, it has been amazing. We learned a lot. We understood many things in life, spiritually, physically here in Mexico, just like in every single way, exponentially we grew.
It's been beautiful. It's been a beautiful year. It's been a beautiful time, us being here in Mexico. And also, it's been a beautiful time on that forum show, talking to all these different beautiful guests that we've had over the past weeks. Each guest is like a universe to us, because when we talk to a guest and the topics that the guest's interested in, opens up their world to us. You know, it literally opens up their world to us.
We have learned about many different things during this time. Like we had business people come on, artists, and like last week we went into life coaching ideas, like how, and specifically for foreigners, how sorry,
shout out to our last week's guest, Dr. Weavens.
How they feel they can thrive here in Mexico.
Yeah. So the stuff that we are interested to highlight, or the stuff that we want to talk about, basically things like that: travel, being here in Mexico, you know, and moving around, life as life on the road, in a sense. Would you call it? Would you say it's life on the road?
I mean,
yeah, right. I mean, it's kind of life on the road.
Your country, there are challenges that come with it. Even if you came here, stable job and whatnot. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have our Instagram page.
Yes.
And
okay, so my bad. I mentioned. Sorry, I have to say this. I thought I said we were going to put out our Illuminary Instagram page. Era TFS Instagram page.
Not the Illuminary.
Yeah,
we are the vocalists of Illuminary, but we are going to show you the year in TFS. So we started off with Bo, who is our friend. He is an influencer. He does like comedic stuff, and also he dresses up in costumes. And he's very well known because he was also on some TV programs, and you see him in Central just dressed in like the costumes like Star Wars and even Super Mario Brothers and everything. And a lot of people recognize him. His numbers are huge. He told us that his fan base is here in Mexico. Like he traveled elsewhere. Also, he went to Japan. He went back to his native country, the US, and like his faithful audience is here. People love him here, and so he continued to grow his following right here in Mexico. And it was very interesting when we have him on, because it was at the same time when we are thinking about our show, like what direction we want. So, and
he was our first guest, and he kicked it off with a bang, and kind of set the mood in a way, you know. So shout out to Bo, first guest, and
we definitely need to think about Bo, since we are the anniversary and like the anniversary of Bo as well.
Yeah, it's been a year. Maybe we'll touch base with Bo again, find out what he's been up to.
Yeah, I think I'm going to invite him maybe sometime next month.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see if he can do it, and whether our schedule permits.
Yes.
And yeah, the another incredible part is like throughout this year we have had like a stream of ready guests. Like everybody was very interested to come on to discuss living meaningfully as an expat here in Mexico.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like, I think when you are a traveler, that's what you want to do anyway. You want to engage life in that way, you know, with all your senses ready and open and stuff like that. So and we also need to touch on the fact that like we have undergone many changes during this time.
Yes.
Right, and our Instagram right now is not completely up to date because there was another flow. like I only started taking it over like a while back, but like we are going to put all our guests up and you can check them all out. We are a community. We consider everybody who watch us.
Yes, and speaking of guests, what you see on the screen now is today's guest, all right? A really good friend of ours, Erica.
Yes.
And we're going to be talking to her about zero waste living.
Yes.
Specifically how she does it, you know?
Yes. But like I would like to finish up what we were thinking about with the year, because we definitely need to mention about Isaac Crouch, who is the person that you see on the video just before the show. He was the original person that wanted to do this platform show. I think he came up with the name, and like
he also designed the logo, right?
Very sadly to say, he passed away, and the shocking change of our show. And so like we definitely need to honor him in this year's journey.
Yes.
And now we have taken the show more and more into the niches that we think all foreigners will be interested to hear. So let us know what you would like to discuss about, think about, and all that. And a lot of these ideas that we are coming up with, we are also seeing them in like the foreigners group chat. So we feel like these are the interesting points for you guys. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And you touch base with us, and also the previous guests and all that. Each guest, you can find out about what they're into and probably be into it as well.
Yeah.
All right. So
and like we'll be hosting events this year. Like that's our plan. So we would like everybody to come on. Like foreigner or not, like if you're watching the show and you are Mexican, like and just want to like be involved with like speaking English and joining us, we are super inclusive and very happy to have you. So our guest is here.
Yeah.
Erica from Australia.
Yeah.
Zero waste.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, what's up, Erica?
Okay,
good to see you both.
Good to see you.
Oh, you look so colorful. Like you're at your restaurant right now, right?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. And you know me, like I really like patterns. So I was thinking of trying to turn it down and not wear patterns. It just happened.
Wow.
What do you mean turn it down? You should turn it up.
Right. Yeah, I'm actually in the restaurant, so that's the background you can see here. A lot of clay.
What do you have going on in the back? Like what are those things like that grill looking?
They're called breeze blocks in English. Basically, so like we designed the whole place, and you've got.
Oh, it's like a divider. Oh no. Oh, I see.
And then we've got a big barn door sort of opening here, and then
is Anai there?
Goes right out, and everything's sort of done with like natural tones, and natural fibers, and working with local artisans. So it's all like palm, all of the furniture, and then at the back there it's kind of clay, and the building's made out of some sort of clay compounded dirt blocks.
Wow.
The paint is actually made out of that same dirt, and then we've painted with it.
Hence, this is the zero waste living thing that we're talking about, right? Like everything is recyclable, and like that's the whole direction of zero waste, right?
Yeah, that's kind of the idea, is to really like from everything in the concept to really think about it being able to return back to the earth, so everything we use using natural, using wood, using stone, etc. Obviously there are things that you can't avoid. You're going to make the foundations of a house or a building with concrete.
Right.
So yeah, there are things that you can't avoid, but the idea of the restaurant really is to focus on zero waste in lots of different ways, starting with
so when you say
the building, then also with the food, zero waste. We always say zero waste inside our bodies, and then also zero waste for the planet. So we really try to make food that's not full of crap, so it's all free of refined foods, no sugar. We don't really use gluten, or we use sourdough if we're going to, which is, an ancestral way of doing it, and it's actually more digestible. And then also we do zero waste, as in we work with a chain of suppliers, to make sure that we don't use any single-use plastic. We do everything bulk.
Wow.
Yeah, and when everything's kind of local as well, because that's a big part of sustainability and reducing our environmental footprint is
Whoa,
like the distance it's traveling, right?
That's amazing, yo. Okay. Let's slow it down a sec, because you mentioned many interesting points. Like I think I want to get into it. Like first of all, zero waste, right? Like for people who are very new to this whole idea, what we've done our research, and most people when they think of zero waste, the thing that comes to mind is okay when recycling your waste, right? Putting the plastics to the plastics and stuff like that. But listening to you, it's
not
a lot.
even using plastics. Like you're using everything that is degradable and
exactly.
Yeah. So.
So
I mean, maybe you can talk to the people a bit more and tell them a bit more. It's much more than just separating your waste.
Why live zero waste? Like what does it like? What does it do? And also then you include zero waste for the body
right?
as well. So that's really interesting. Yeah.
So tell us about that. Yeah.
For sure. I think it's one thing, having a concept of a restaurant that's zero waste, and I think sometimes in cooking now, which I think sometimes is a bit of bullshit, but in cooking now, a lot of chefs are doing zero waste cooking, which is actually focusing. I think it's good, but I think you also need to look at different sides of it, and it's a lot more complex than just using everything in a vegetable, right? Because that's another part of zero waste is actually, okay, so I've got a carrot, I'm not going to peel it, or I'm going to peel it and then I'm going to use the skins to ferment and create something else, or we do a lot of techniques like that as well in the kitchen, but I think you need to see it as something more holistic, right? So it can't just be, okay, I'm just going to not waste any food scraps. We're also making compost, but you also got to look at, okay, all the plastic you're producing, all the way that you're participating in the local economy as well, the way you're contributing. We don't import anything. We get everything from Mexico. It's around 97% because there's a few things like spices that aren't produced here, but that's one of the beauties of Mexico, right? That you produce so much. And I think that's the thing about zero waste living in Mexico is that it is achievable. I think in a lot of countries, it's something that can be quite whitewashed. It can be something that is quite gentrified, and it's for very rich people. In Mexico, it actually can be something that's cheaper, but it depends.
So, just a quick note about Australia. Do people live like that in general? Are there a lot of Australians that that live zero waste and conscious living style and all that?
Good question. It is something actually the movement in restaurants did start with an Australian chef. One of the first zero waste restaurants was opened by an Australian chef. Not in Australia, they were opened in London and also in Berlin. I can't remember which one was the Australian. But there's also a lot of very famous, there's a big movement in Australia, and there are definitely people that are doing it. There's a lot of people that do, and my partner and I started doing it ourselves personally at home, which is a whole different ball game. And I think that's something where, if you go to a shop, you can't buy everything, and you've got to make decisions and actually plan and be prepared about how you want to live and what you need, and decide and actually make those tough choices. We were reflecting on just before Annie and I, my partner, about, the choices that you have to make in your life and what stores you just can't go to. For instance, an OXO or a 7-Eleven. If you go in that shop and you think through an eye of zero waste, there is nothing that you can buy. There's literally nothing. Everything is made in single-use plastics. And that's something quite shocking. But then if you go further and you think about and this is why also we focus on health and nutrition and zero waste in your body, because it's actually it's easier to eat whole foods in Mexico and to get that, I think, at an accessible price and even direct from the producers. So if you look at our markets in Mexico, there's bulk food places. Those women that have all those sacks of everything, a granel or in bulk. You can buy all that, right? And you don't have that access, and you can bring your own bags and buy it. Or you can go to a specialty zero waste market in the city. In Mexico City, there's a lot of those. It's going to be a little bit more expensive, but also a lot of those products might be organic as well. So you can,
Wow, I have never heard of any zero waste markets here in Mexico. Do you know where we can go?
Yeah, sure. So there are a couple. One that I work with that I love is called Zero Waste Market. Zero Market.
Zero Market, okay.
Is it in the city?
Yes,
is it in Mexico City?
There's one in I think there's two or maybe three. There's one in Del Valle, and there's also one in Coyoacan. And that one, she actually works directly with a lot of the producers, and also is making sure that bulk food, because sometimes they bring bulk food and they're just emptying plastic bags into those bulk food containers. She actually works with the producers to reduce their waste, and also is making sure that everything is agroecological or organic. Yeah, so certified or maybe not officially certified, but still with great practices, which is, and most of it's from Mexico. She's got really great, there's 2 of those. There's also a place called Botanica a Granel.
Botanica.
It's a little bit more luxe. It's a little bit more fancy. It has some really nice stuff, and they don't necessarily, they have quite a few, they have some imported things, but they've also got, they've got a big range of products. And that is, I think actually in La Roma, like it's quite, quite central. And that one's a little bit more expensive, but they even have things like olive oil that you can buy bulk, or agave syrup, or maple syrup, or molasses, which is something that's not so easy to find in your local market, you know.
So like the prices for the zero waste products, are they a lot more expensive or just a notch? Like,
I would say, I don't think, it depends on where you're buying your products. If you're buying your products really at Chedraui or something like that, it's probably very similar and often cheaper. You know, I think like, especially if you go zero waste, if you want to buy like your beans or your peanuts or things like that, dry foods, you can buy them in the market and it'll be a lot cheaper. You know, if you buy bulk food there, it's going to be a lot cheaper than you're going to buy. But if you want something actually organic and want to ensure that you know where it comes from, the origin, you can go to one of those stores and they have the origin there and everything. You can bring your own bags. You can use paper bags that they have there, or sometimes they have jars you can reuse. And there, a lot of the products actually are really reasonable, basically the same price. Like some of them we've actually looked and it's the same price, but yeah, it actually, I don't think it makes, that's the beauty of Mexico, I think. I think it's a paradise for this kind of living, and it's something that's a lot more accessible. I think in Australia people do it, but it's something for more privileged people because it's quite expensive. You have to go to organic stores, which are all
which is kind of ironic.
I love hearing that because you know you want to live well here in Mexico and like being knowing. But I think we need to be aware of where to get these things and
that's very, very useful information. And I'm gonna, you notice this lights here. I'm gonna switch this to red for a second and play devil's advocate. All right. Okay, I'm gonna ask you. Okay, basically, I'm gonna play the idiot. All right, for people who have no idea about what this whole thing is and stuff. All right. What is say if I go to a supermarket and I buy an apple and it says this apple is organic versus another apple that is not. What is the difference? What is organic? How do you define that?
Yeah, well, I think it's a complex question because organic is a certification, really. You know, something that's organic is usually something that's actually certified organic. And in Mexico, we have two words we use for that in Spanish that we don't really have in English, which is agroecologico or agroecological. Something sounds really weird in English. Or organic. When it says organic, it means that it's gone through a certification process. That the farmer, they've gone and checked the farm, and they can't use any chemicals in the production. Anything unnatural, they can only use things like chili or garlic or maybe some vinegar to fight off pests. You know, so that means it has nothing at all that's a pesticide and that's like a chemical product. So it means that you've got, you know, it's a more natural product. It's as if you're getting something that's growing in its natural habitat, right? Whereas anything that isn't organic might be pumped with either hormones, particularly with meat, and then might be pumped with hormones. It might have lots of different types of chemicals that can do damage to your body. And there are certain things. Then the other type is agroecological, which I actually like supporting a lot of farms that have that don't have the certification. Because what we've got to recognize is that organic certification is really expensive. And that is actually then results in a lot of like larger farms that are more privileged being able to access that certification. But in Mexico, there's another way that we talk about that, which is those agroecologico. And then that means that they're actually able to, they are practicing, but you can't certify it. The way that we do it is we actually go and visit. We can't guarantee it, right? We go and visit the farms and we see what their practices are. We talk to them. We try the product, and then in that way you can support also small farm holders, because I think otherwise we're not supporting a lot larger farms if it's just organic certified.
Right.
That's so beautiful what you guys do. Yeah.
Like when it's these kind of farms, do they have any like sticker or anything on the product? Like
no, I think it's something that you just need to know. There are certain in Mexico City, there's a few delivery services that support quite a few little farms like this. There's one called Somos.
Oh wow. Somos.
Somos, that's new. It's like an app. That's pretty cool. And they have heaps of different Mexican grown products, and they'll tell you the origin, you know, what their practices are like. They even have some great like types of bread, cheese, all that kind of stuff as well, vegan cheeses. But yeah, and they actually do quite a lot of zero waste practices. That's part of their thing. They actually do an exchange sort of process, you know, like where you collect so if you've got a punnet of blueberries, you collect the punnets and then you give them back to them and they continue recycling. So some of those won't tell you, but if you go to the market normally, like you're not going to know, and the majority isn't organic unless you see maybe a woman that has a bucket of apples and you see that they've had some bugs in them. That's a good sign. They've got some marks on them, and maybe they're a bit deformed. They don't look normal, and they often they might say that they're criollo. Or something like that. And that would mean they're a native variety or an endemic variety. Also. But
and those usually taste...
The ugly ones are better.
Yeah, I was going to say, those usually taste much better, right, than the apples, for example, if you can buy in Chedraui or something.
That's the thing. And I think, imperfection, though, is a good thing. I think that's something that we need to note is like in fruit and vegetable, you don't want a perfect apple. That means that it's been pumped with chemicals. It's better to have an imperfect apple. You know, and the same with anything. And you start to recognize it when you've been working with those certain fruits and veggies. There's also some other farms that do deliver. You can look up. There's quite a few farms that do deliver. There's another one called Alma Tierra that's actually from here in Valle de Bravo. That's a huge. They have organic certification, and they provide to a lot of the largest and best restaurants in Mexico. That also is one that delivers in Mexico City, even I think twice a week.
Well, Erica, you're showing our guests, I mean, and the people watching how serious you are with zero waste, you know, and your knowledge is impressive. Yeah.
I mean, she's a zero waste restaurateur, so she would definitely have a lot of knowledge.
Yeah. And
you know, Erica, like we had another guest from Valle de Bravo, like some weeks back, and he actually shared with us that there are like tianguis or like the wet markets or whatever in Valle de Bravo that is completely organic. We were very impressed. Do you know about them? Like, have you come across them?
They're like tianguis, you know, like markets, you know, like weekend market.
And they are completely organic.
Yeah, we do have a couple. They were kind of closed during the pandemic, but there are a couple that are organic that are sort of coming back now, which is great. So they just support a lot of local producers. We're actually having an event here where we're going to have quite a few of the producers come, a zero waste festival on the 17th, 18th of June. That we're also going to have a heap of the producers come and and music and stuff. It's to celebrate our first anniversary. You know, we like a party.
Oh, okay. It's your anniversary too.
Yeah, you can come down.
Yes. Wow, so you say you're saying on the 17th and 18th, right? And this zero waste event is organized by you guys, your restaurant?
Sorry?
The event, you guys are organizing it, the zero waste
it's going to be in
festival.
Our restaurant. So it's 17th, 18th of June. And we've got a space at the back. So we're basically opening it up to, different local producers, also initiatives. So some of those markets that I mentioned, the zero waste one's going to come down. There's going to be like a rainwater collection sort of expo. There's going to be workshops in tropic agriculture, there's some different, like, also kind of like music community building ones. We're going to have like a band. We're going to have DJs during the day.
It's a huge thing.
It's going to be really fun.
Festival.
It's the first time we've ever done something like that. And we really want to start part of what we want to do with Power, really. And the first year it's just been, chaos. But after that, part of the idea is really just to start raising consciousness and awareness around zero waste and more at a scale of restaurants as well, and around the industry, around the food service industry, and supporting other people and creating a replicable model that other businesses could take on. And then because it is also something that can be a lot cheaper, because you're doing small batch everything. You're making sure there's ways of doing things, that people also have way fresher food as well. We're not freezing anything. We're doing everything kind of small batch, and making sure that you also get the most out of everything. I just made a quinoa that I used the stalks of the cauliflower in, and we just made a pancake, an Asian style pancake that we used the leaves of the cauliflower in, and then we have another dish that we use the actual florets. So you're using the whole vegetable, and it's a way to also get get more, for less. And also to get all the nutrients, reap all the nutrients from every vegetable, because a lot of the time the leaves and everything have more nutrients than the actual vegetable. For instance, in a carrot.
Right.
Yeah, it's a good example.
So you figured out like how to use every part of the vegetable and still make it taste good. And that's the first thing I think of when I think of zero waste, is that you don't throw away anything unnecessarily.
It's very trendy right now, like everything with like the daisy coffee. There's that carrot top pesto, which I don't really love.
Right.
But we use the carrot tops in green juice. So that's something really easy you can do at home. The carrot tops, you can chuck them in green juice. You could also blend them and make them in, if you wanted to make a pesto out of them. Any herb that you have in excess, which often in Mexico, they give you like really large bunches of herbs. I feel like it's the opposite in Australia. They give you the measliest bunch and it's really expensive. But they often give us really large bunches. Anything like that you can turn into like a chimichurri or like a pesto or like another salsa by blending it. If you have a good food processor or even a blender, you can really do wonders. And like I think with any leaf that comes the vegetable, a beet or a cauliflower or a broccoli, you can use all those as if they were any other green, like a spinach. Yeah, you could use them as if it was spinach or kale, and then you don't also have to buy those vegetables. That's kind of like the other side of zero waste cooking. There's a side which is much more complex, which we're trying to work, is really like looking at the whole industry and the supply chain. But then there is also the side of like just like getting the most you can, out of everything you can use, which is really fun. We make vinegars out of pineapple skins, which is something that people do a lot in Mexico, and then you use the pineapple. Okay. We make vinegars out of apple skins. Like there's a lot of like fun things and like that you can do using the whole vegetable, the fruit.
So like in a single day, like you have to open the restaurant, then you're also planning all these different things like, okay, what can I do? And then think about the business aspect of things. So like how does your day go in general? Like I'm interested to know.
Yeah.
Chaotic at times. It never goes as you plan it. And also the days when you have a lot of things on, the restaurant fills up. It's just like one of those Murphy's Law or something.
Murphy's Law,
yeah. It's a lot. I suppose it's about, I'm a real planner and love planning, and we've got a great team. So, we've got an all-woman team, which is something also really important to us. We really see it as a bit of a feminist venture. And so we've got an amazing team, them being able to support, learning how to, everyone kind of divides and conquers. There's different people that know how to do the preparations. Ani and I also do things behind the scenes. In our house we do ferment some things, so then you're kind of watching them, they're like babies. So we have vinegar fermenting in the house, we had kombucha fermenting, things like that. Wow. But it's about being prepared and being able to organize like when things need to happen in your head. My day, I do get up quite early, and then I also work in the morning. I do consulting in gender equality and diversity.
So you're also working. Okay.
Yeah, so I do that.
A lot of things.
And then I do that in between when we don't have too many customers.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
But I have to say this.
The key is having the right support, right? So, Anna is fantastic, my wife, and we're like a really good partnership, I think. Like we've managed to divide the business up really naturally, and then having an amazing team as well that know how to do
that's really well. That's a good point, right? That doing having different people play the roles naturally, right? Especially in a business. And I also want to touch on this point that you mentioned earlier, that you're going to use the Zero Waste Festival, right, to kind of share your business model with other entrepreneurs or other people who want to get into zero waste businesses, right? I think that is so beautiful. And that is something really, that should be highlighted also, because I guess the only way to affect real change in a big way is through this method of osmosis, right? One person influencing another, right?
Yeah, and sharing the information and all that. Yeah, which is one of the points of that front show. We want to spread information, positive information and all that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very cool.
I mean,
yeah, I think it's something like really important is to look beyond. It's something that I often think about, that always annoyed me about zero waste is the thing like the idea of like not everyone stopped using straws, right? And there's like this big thing about using straws and that they were going to kill the turtles. And not using a straw is fantastic, but we need to go bigger, like go hard, like, and actually also look at, changing. It's, yes, we have a personal responsibility, but it's also not fair to be putting all of the burden. Often governments try to deflect and put the burden on the people instead of them actually making change in the way that laws are made as well. You know, like nearly 40% of food that's produced in Mexico is wasted, and on a global scale, it's around 30%. But like countries like the US, it's a little bit higher than Mexico, and that's just because of that's like mismanagement. That's also the way that restaurants work. You know, that actually you have to have a huge menu where you have everything available all of the time, and that there are other ways of doing it. You know, and I think that's the cool thing about when you see certain things like fondas in Mexico, where they actually have a short menu and they have a daily menu that they're changing. That's super sustainable. Yeah, and then they also tell you, when I used to get annoyed when people tell you that they don't have half the things on the menu, and then I actually think, that's really cool. That means that they're not trying to prepare too much. That also is good for us to think, because that means its food's going to be fresher. Because if they have a huge batch and they have thousands of things on the menu, that's not a good sign. And if your food gets to your table in 5 minutes, that's not a good sign either. So it means it probably came out of the freezer.
It's like fast food, exactly.
Golden tips, ladies and gentlemen, golden tips. And yes, if you're joining us here on That Forum Show, we are talking with Erica, and we're talking about zero waste, all right? And you mentioned something. You said 40% of the food in Mexico is wasted, like it's thrown away?
Yeah, it's around 37%, I believe. And that's in various different ways. You know, that can be in the supply chain, looking at, you know, maybe farmers are producing too much, and that may be the way that it's transported, the way that it's stored. You know, a lot of the time you see food, and this is a global problem, you know, and this is a problem with us, you know, like also humans. Do you often see who doesn't have a few sad vegetables in their fridge? You know, who doesn't buy
we got a few,
much, and then you never get round, or you get a bit excited about making something with a new thing, and then you just never do it, you know, or you over order. At a restaurant, and then you have all these leftovers, and then maybe you just leave them there, or maybe you take them home and then they stick in your fridge and you don't eat them, you know. So there's those aspects, but then there's also the way that we produce food, and the whole supply chain, and the different ways that you can lose food along the way, through transportation, through conservation, through proper conservation of food, through the way that restaurants are maybe purchasing bulk huge amounts and then not using all of it, because they want to maintain like a certain menu and a certain expectation of the consumer. So that's where I think it is our responsibility as a consumer to change the way that we are consuming, and reconsider like what is necessary and what isn't, and what does that mean?
What does that mean?
You're demanding something. What does that actually mean for the industry, and what does that mean for the world? Just thinking about like producing. I think actually anyone going out, and in Bahia you can often do this, like go out to farms and just learn how a cauliflower grows, or learn how, if you eat meat, learn how that's produced, and then you have more appreciation for it. And then maybe you're not going to leave it to go, I learned how cauliflower grew, and I learned that an organic cauliflower costs like 80 to 120 pesos. And then I was like, God, I'm not going to be buying too many cauliflowers and leaving them, you know, and it takes months for someone to grow them. And I met the people growing them, and they were like looking after them like they're babies. And I'm like, I should never just like leave that to go moldy in my fridge, you know?
Like we grew up in Asia. Like our parents are always telling us every grain of rice is very important. Like it took a long time to grow them, and you have to appreciate every single grain, and they force us to like finish our food.
That's good. You know, I believe the line was, when we were growing up, our generation, it was the people in Ethiopia are suffering and dying. So you better finish your food. That's the line that we got. You know? Yeah, you remember that also, right? Yeah.
But
and it's a beautiful thing.
That, really, and I don't think it really makes sense. Like also feeling guilty as a consumer that you didn't finish your food, you know. But yes, considering, I think like the problem's a lot larger than that. You know, it's also in looking at what portions of food restaurants are also serving, what our expectations are in terms of consumers, and what we want to have available also on a menu, and what we demand. And also in supermarkets, thinking about we want everything available all the time. The earth doesn't give everything all the time, you know. We should be eating seasonally, and that's one of the best things you can do, is eat seasonally. If you can learn that, you can actually download on the internet 1,000 of charts about what's in what season and all that kind of thing, and just come to learn it. You also come to learn it by the prices. If you go to a local market in Mexico, you can learn by the prices, and there are certain things that, you'll see that, okay, this is cheaper in my neighborhood at this time. That would mean that it's in season.
And,
it's like really like learning about all these things, like for example with you right now, that it's like really helping me to understand why we should eat local and seasonal and all that, because otherwise I'll just go for like, I go to the Chinese restaurants or I'll go to the Asian restaurants, just to get the taste. But I'm starting to appreciate like eating local. And
but it's pretty interesting, right? I mean, it's because we sometimes we look for convenience, right? Like, and yes, but we want stuff convenient.
Consciously is you need to think about like that you need to go out of your way, but you can figure it out. If you want to live like that.
It's more dynamic also in that way. Like I think the stuff that you're talking about, Erica, is really interesting, and people should. Not people should. We're gonna start. I'm gonna start, right? Being more conscious also, like see, looking at what is available seasonally, and try and incorporate that. I guess it kind of naturally happens in a way also, right? You go to the supermarket, the stuff that you find there is kind of what is actually seasonal already, right? It's what's in season, right?
Yeah, it's challenging because I think there's a lot of distance. There's a lot of disconnect. Yeah, in Australia, like everything's pretty much available all the time in the supermarket. And yes, it is produced, but they're produced. Then sometimes also they're produced under conditions that aren't natural for that vegetable. So maybe they are pumping it with chemicals, or it's not in its best moment. Maybe it's in an environment where it doesn't have any natural light, which also affects the nutrients that you're going to have in that vegetable. I think there's just lots of different factors. I before wasn't really into this, and also was just like, just bought whatever I wanted at the time in the supermarket, and then started to learn more, and through this project we've been learning more and more. And I think Vaya de Bravo was also just amazing for the abundance of different projects that are here, and also farms and production that happens here. Vaya de Bravo started in Mexico, and Michoacan is like where most of a lot of production of fruit, and it's very fertile soil. A lot of production of like vegetables happens in Mexico. And a lot of the top get their veggies from here. There's also quite a bit in Xochimilco if you're in Mexico City. There's some great stuff happening in the Tenampas and some really good projects that people can support there too.
Man,
so what we're seeing in like the supermarkets, I mean the produce that we are having in the supermarkets right now. So are you saying that they are imported and they are not the seasonal vegetables? Because I do see them changing, so I assumed that we are getting the seasonal vegetables.
Sometimes it really depends. The supermarkets do try to just have everything all available all the time, because that's just what we demand as consumers. And the thing is, there might be seasonal vegetables just from different states in Mexico, right? There's a lot of different climates within the country. So you can grow anything. It's a bit similar to Australia, where you can grow anything, but then that means that you've also got the miles of that food traveling to you. So that's why it is better to know in your zone sort of what is seasonally available. And sometimes, you are going to find seasonal things that they're going to be cheaper. That is what you will notice. Apples will be cheaper when they're in season. Bananas will be cheaper when they're in season, etc.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, this is something that I've been wondering. Like, the vegetables and fruits in the. What are you smiling at? There's some sound that's going on. Yeah, okay, so the vegetables and fruits that are from the markets here, the mercados, like, do you think that they are better handled than like in the supermarkets? Because I've been wondering whether I should just go to the markets instead of the supermarket.
I would go to the market for a couple of different reasons. One, yes, there's more probability that you're going to find local growers. And two, because you're not supporting a multinational, you're supporting small families, and it's really important to support local business. So they're like people that have like small market stalls and everything like that. Yeah, okay, like often the food isn't all going to be organic, but you are also, that's another part of, I think, sustainability is also looking at how we can grow healthier communities and how we can support local business instead of necessarily like the supermarkets might be owned by a multinational and they already have a lot of income. So I just see that as kind of also something important.
Right.
Is an important
good point, Slay. It's a very good point.
Yes.
Something to consider, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think like you can say. I think the veggies though are a little bit better in the market, but it really varies. You know, it depends on what each market it is. You know.
Yeah, definitely. And also there are like all the different sellers in the market itself, and I don't know where they're getting it from. So different people probably.
You can ask them too. It depends on what they're like. But I often ask people where it comes from, and sometimes they're proud. Oh, it comes from Chile. Oh, it's from the United States, and you're like, that doesn't make me want this. A lot of kiwi fruits and things. Apples, kiwi fruits, peaches, like nectarines, are basically a lot of them that you find in the market that have that sticker on them. They're often from the US.
From the US.
And sometimes they also put those stickers on them so that people think they're more of a luxury item and think that they're from the US because there's like, people like to buy things that are foreign.
Yeah, like
wow. Yeah,
like probably like the Mexican people might think that they are better quality or something just because they say they are from the US, right?
But there can be that sort of bias from different people. I think we often have like in our globe have this sort of idea, this romanticization of foreign goods in general. You know, think about like in Australia we have European supermarkets and things like that, and they have that in Mexico as well. And it's something that traditionally was always looked upon as very fancy, you know, a Spanish wine.
Right.
But now we're getting more consciousness and awareness around that, and realizing that close to home is probably better.
Yeah,
it hasn't traveled a long way as well. It's going to be especially when we're talking about fruits and vegetables or meat, you know, anything like that. Any fresh foods, definitely. You know, I'm not saying don't ever drink wine from Spain or Italian wine, or Australian wine, but yeah, it's all about balance. Right? In the end, like I sound very extreme, but in the end, you know, you got to have balance and just make the decisions that work for you. You know, and not get
looking at
being all or nothing. You know, like I think that's what we get caught up on. The same with vegetarianism, veganism. We often get caught up that we have to do it completely 100%, otherwise we fail. No, I think it makes more sense.
I totally agree with this.
Being caught up in all or nothing, you said, right?
It's like after that, it's like you're just chasing the concept, and then you're not present with it. We totally agree. Yeah, like when I was reading about zero waste, right? Like they actually spoke about it as the future of dining, you know, for the restaurants, zero waste restaurants. So like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree.
Obviously, right? You have the restaurant,
I think it's really interesting, and that's sort of when Annie and I started Power. That was sort of the idea, you know, seeing really looking at what are the future trends in gastronomy, and also it is something that actually is happening. What you've been seeing more and more, which we always get excited about, is there's one in there's more and more actually kind of, and also associated with veganism, because veganism is seen as obviously a lot more sustainable, and it's also the restaurant is vegan, besides the option of a poached egg, and that's because of, and we explain that to people, the reason that it's vegan is because it's the most sustainable way of life. But you know, but we really focus on just delicious food. We don't tag ourselves or label ourselves. We only label ourselves as sustainable. But I do think that we're seeing more and more restaurants that are like luxury restaurants and like Michelin star restaurants that are turning vegan and are focusing on zero waste methods. It is the food of the future, because we're going to run out. You know, we have exhausted our resources, you know, and really treated the earth really badly. So, you know, we need to be thinking of new and creative ways, and also and of not wasting, you know, and eating what we can. That's why insects also, you know, are part of the food of the future. And I think zero waste is definitely going to be an up and coming. It is already a trend in kitchen, and you're seeing it I've been to a few restaurants recently, and they often talk about, they're doing something with the skins of something, they're doing something with the pips of something, and it's very, very trendy. But it's also the way that we're going to make things both affordable and sustainable, and have enough. You know, have enough. The population is growing, and we really with we
need this trend.
Destructive mass scale agriculture it's passe. It's not going to work anymore, and we've realized that. And we really need to be taking action sooner. I think in relation to that, but yeah. Yeah,
mass scale agriculture is a serious disease. You know, put it that way. The way the pollution that comes from that, and also not to mention the animal suffering that comes from all the farms and stuff. But I mean,
crowding and
we are all for this to become the norm, you know, like really like yeah.
I mean, like this feels like a better vibration for humankind, obviously.
Yeah. And the stuff you mentioned also. No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, the thing that you talked about is I think it's very important also, like the mentality, you know, like those apples have bugs in them, I'm not gonna buy those, you know, that kind of stuff, to change that kind of thinking, you know, like you see an imperfect apple or something, and you actually see that, hey, this is much better for me, you know. And you go to a restaurant and you say, can I get the fried rice? And they're like, no, we're out of fried rice right now. And then you'll be like, oh, that's cool. Okay, what do you have? You know, this kind of thinking, I think, will really change the world. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like that, yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, our producers have told us that we've got 5 minutes to go, Erica, and this episode has just kind of flown by, really.
Yeah, you've given us so much information. Yeah. It's really, really great. And Erica, I'm thinking that next week, since your festival is coming, it's on the 17th, right? So I think for next week's show, we are going to introduce Pahua and talk about your festival and stuff. So please give me all the information like later, after the show, and the poster and all that. Yeah.
Yes, and also some of the other information. No, you know, you're most welcome, and also send us some.
We love the whole idea of your restaurant. I'm so happy to share it. Yeah.
And also send us some of the information you're talking about, so that we can share with the guests about where they can find this sustainable, or into the markets that you mentioned, and things like that. Beautiful.
Yeah, and I can send you please. Some of the different ways, some of the different shops also, and the different farms that they can access in Mexico City.
Yes.
Beautiful, and I will put it into a list, and I think I'll put on our social media.
And we're gonna keep sending people your way, all right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I would really love to try the food, and we will plan something, and we'll come down and hang out with you guys.
For sure.
Because I mean, you're an awesome cook. What?
Yes. In Power, that would be
you can play that.
When we come through, we will sing. Sure. Why not? Now Isaac and I can just do it by ourselves, so it's cool. Yeah.
All right, so we want to have some closing words from you, right?
From our resident.
For the guests, all right. So just like maybe you can tell us. I was gonna ask you actually what you're most proud of in terms of zero waste, like a project or an inspirational thing. Maybe you can touch on that.
Most proud of. So that's
like 5 minutes and go. Oh my God.
What I'm I don't know, like most proud of is definitely like the fact that we managed to launch a restaurant, and
wow.
I think what I'm most proud of, I think it's amazing to, you know, what we were really scared of, you know, having a menu that doesn't really fit into any of the boxes. You know, it doesn't have the chilaquiles, it doesn't have the poached eggs or the eggs how you like them. It doesn't have, you know, the classic. Doesn't have a pasta. There's no classic where like everything what you call like cocina de autor or autora. So it's like very just like from here. We invented all of the recipes, and we really try to do everything where we change everything every week.
So cool.
Harvest. And so I'm really proud of the fact that we managed to do that, and people love it, you know, and people are actually open to trying new things, and they're really excited about the concept. Although they often come, they don't understand it, but they're excited to learn, you know. And I think it's really beautiful that we even have. I'm really proud of the fact that we now have customers that come in with their Tupperware. They take away something. They're like, okay, I want some cake. Someone came in today and they brought in their own Tupperware, and they start changing their habits, right? And start thinking about that. And also, we have the majority of our customers, they're meat eaters. And they love here, and they say, oh, I don't even notice it's vegan, or they didn't even know.
Nice.
And I think that's a really powerful thing, because then I think that's just a snowball effect, right? I think like they try something, and then you start making shifts in, and that not only is going to help your health,
exactly,
but it's also going to help the planet, right? And I think that's a really cool thing that and seeing how people can people can start to make small changes in their own lives. And I think that's something I'm really proud of. And that's what we really want to do. Like, we're real activists, and this project is really a project of activism. So
with love,
people are super into it, and then they're actually making changes in their own lives as well, is a really good sign. And it's only the first year. So that's good.
It was so beautifully said, Erica. We really enjoyed having you on the show. We will connect with you after, and thank you so much. Celestine Angel.
I'll talk to you soon. Thank you for your time. It's been so beautiful. Peace.
Thank you.
Signing out. I'm Isaac Rakesh.
Activating your senses. We are going to a break, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
On the foreign show, that foreign show. We'll be seeing you on the foreign show. We'll be seeing